Good morning, I'm Brad Phillips. I'm here with Puppy Steps Training, and today we have Graham in the crate with us, and we're going to be doing his demonstration. Very excited to send him home to you. I'm sure that you guys are excited to get him back. He's just a very fun dog, has a very vibrant personality. I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy him in the home, and he has done very well with the majority of his training. There are a few things that we're going to talk about in detail that are specific to him that will need to be continued to work on a little bit, as well as you're just going to have to set a standard right off the bat so that he will perform those tasks with the same expectations as I expect, but perform them for you at the same standard. So we will talk about those in detail when they come up. But first, we are just going to talk a little bit about the socialization, then I'll get him out with the manners, and we'll do the obedience commands, house training, and leash training. Before I do that, I just want to talk about a few things that we are going to, or that you're going to hear me say quite a bit during this demonstration. The first is the word okay. And so okay is our marker and our release word. Marks the correct behavior, releases from a stay. It is very important that anytime you use that word, when he has done something correctly, that it is followed up with some type of reward. Now, the food reward is the majority of reward that we use. Food is a very powerful motivator, and for you I would recommend that you continue to use that. And really, if you use some type of reward every time they do something correctly, or as close to 100% as you can, for the first year of their life, it settles in, it becomes muscle memory. Basically, they do it without even thinking about it. They do it because they know it's the right behavior, as well as they do it out of respect for you. And so food reward is the most powerful. We also do use compassion, or petting and things like that, as well as toys. So those are your three types of rewards. Our correction, on the other hand, is no or nope, just depending upon what he does wrong will depend on the severity of the correction. And so if he does something simple like he breaks a stay, I'm going to tell him no, and I'm going to take him back to that same area and have him do it again. Whereas if he did something a little bit more serious, maybe he jumped up on me, tried to steal food, maybe put his teeth on me, I'm going to be a lot more firm in the way that I present that word. And so I'll still tell him no, but it's going to be a lot more commanding. I'll change my voice fluctuation as well as my body language. Those two factors are what a dog reads the most. The only type of physical correction we use is a leash correction, and all that is 2 quick pops on the leash. You're not trying to pull him backwards or jerk him around, but it's basically to get his attention and make your presence known. And then it will be followed up with the correction. Whether that's no, or if he starts to pull, we use the word easy, or if he tries to jump, we use the word off. And so you just follow it up with whatever he's doing. So yeah, with that, we'll talk about our socialization just for a minute, and then we'll pull him out. So socialization is the most important part. It's the most important thing you do with any puppy. And from about the age of 4 to 5 weeks is when that early socialization should be started, as well as we do that for the initial first 2 weeks that we have a puppy. And so what we do there is we try and expose them to new sounds, new people, animals, places, textures, just as many new situations as we can possibly get in. And we do that in a controlled environment. That way, if there is some timidness or he's a little bit nervous with something, I can back it off, as well as I can make it more of a positive situation. And really, that way we make sure that there are no severe timid behaviors or anxiety or aggression. Instead, if those things come up, we can work on them and make sure that he is comfortable in uncomfortable situations. We also do that throughout the training, making sure that we do his commands in new places with greater distractions, with different surfaces, just as many new things as we can, just so that he is going to perform when he is expected to perform. But with that, we will get him out now, and we'll go into our manners portion. So the first manner we are going to talk about is his gates and his doorways. And so anytime he comes through the crate, he goes through a house door or a gate, he is expected to stay. It should be an automatic behavior. Shouldn't have to actually tell him to stay or anything like that. However, you have to remember that he is still a puppy, and so he is growing and maturing, and so if he were to break, I might simply close the door or lift my leg and block him, just as a reminder what we're doing. It wouldn't be, unless he was really persistent on pushing his way out, that I would actually tell him to stay. So we'll let him out now. Okay, good boy. Good boy. Good boy. And so the next manner, which I will show you the house door when we go outside, but the next manner, just where he presented it, is his greeting. So anytime he approaches me, I'm going to wait for him to sit before I give him any attention. And so once he sits down, I'll go down, I'll pet him, I'll give him a reward, but I'm going to wait for that greeting. And so that's really important because one, it's going to get him not from wrapping you up, he's not going to be jumping, but also you get his eye contact. And so once you have his eye contact, you know that he's focused on you, and you can then give him further commands, anything like that. But it's really critical for the jumping, because that was one of our biggest struggles with him, was his jumping. And so expecting that greeting and expecting that right off the bat through the transition period is going to be huge. And you'll hear me talk about the transition quite a bit, but what that is the initial 2 to 4 weeks that he comes back into your home. He's going to have to transition that leadership role that he has for me and the other trainers back over to you. And so you're going to have to expect the same things, and you're going to have to show him that leadership. And so the greeting initially does show some respect there, that he respects me enough to come and sit in front of me. During this transition, I wouldn't expect him to be at the same standard that he is here, because it does include him being stressed over switching environments, responding to new people. And so the manners I would expect, and I would try and encourage them, make sure that he doesn't get away with doing the opposite of what you want on some of these things. But also when you do the commands, I wouldn't expect him to hold these elaborate stays and things like that. But the greeting is one that I would really make sure that you expect, and I would not let him jump up, because that is, like I said, kind of a huge behavior that he showed initially. So the next one we're going to talk about is his meals. And so anytime that we feed him, we'll have him hold a sit stay. Sit. Nope, nope. Okay, there you go. Stay. And so I will tell him to stay. And then we'll put his... No. If he breaks, I'll just have him do it again. Stay. Okay, good boy. Okay. There you go. Now, like I said, if he breaks, I'll just have him do it again. But it's important that you always end on a correct behavior. As well as his food is such a motivating time that we really try and use it to our advantage and really lengthen those stays. We add in what we call the 3 Ds, and that's distance, duration, and distraction. And by adding those in, you can really build a solid stay. As well as you can do that stay a couple different times. We can take his food away and ask him to do it again. So I'm going to let him, come here. He's trying to guess what I want. Come here. Sit. Sit. Stay. Okay, good boy, good boy. Now you can see that, he does have a lot of energy. That's just his personality. He's been that way the whole time that we've had him. And so it is important that you're not going to kind of chase him around or build up that energy. Instead, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to wait for him to calm down and kind of focus on me. And that's going to be really important for you. It's also important that you ask him once and you kind of focus there. That's why I kind of just held it out, just waiting for him to focus back and see what I was asking, and then he sat down instead of trying to guess. But yeah. And so just make sure that you get his focus instead of asking him to do certain things a handful of times, as well as he's going to feed off your emotion. And so if you get really frustrated because he's just trying to play this game of what does she want, I'm just going to guess instead of look. As soon as you start getting frustrated, they feed off of that, and then he's going to shut down. And so it's important that you just focus on him, make sure that you get his attention, get him focused on you, and then just ask him the one time and expect the behavior. You can also see that we do handle him quite a bit when he's eating. I want to make sure that he's not going to be aggressive over his food, as well as he's not uncomfortable with me being here. Every once in a while, I will just take a treat, something that's a little bit more higher value, and I'll throw it in there just to keep things positive with me being here and handling him. Good boy. Along those same lines, we do like to make sure that we handle him. He's not the biggest fan of being groomed, and so we do take some time just to handle his paws, his ears, his tail. Just make sure that he's not going to be aggressive or sensitive with any of those things towards me. We do brush him every day. Just let me grab a brush. Come here. Which he kind of has a really curly coat, and so we do like to make sure that that doesn't get tangled. He's not the biggest fan, like I said, of being groomed, but I want to make sure that he's not going to get really aggressive with me or have a problem with me handling him. And so you can just see that, I expect him to kind of calm down, and I'm going to keep my other hand on him, pet him a little bit when we do it, but try and make sure that it isn't a negative time of day, but that, we're going to pet him, we're going to brush him, give him some treats, make sure that he's not going to be aggressive towards me. Now, the one thing that kind of comes along with that, every once in a while he will kind of mouth when I try and brush him, which what that is he's not trying to bite me, but he'll put like my hand in his mouth, which is not okay. We correct him for that. And so if he were to do that, I would just tell him no, and I might grab his muzzle and just hold him for a second. You're not trying to really grab onto it, but just hold it and tell him no until he stops. As well as if he actually were to get my whole hand in his mouth, I'd just push it backwards. But we spent a lot of time on that, which he's done great with. But every once in a while, if someone new comes in and brushes him, he will still try and mouth, and so if he does that, just grab his muzzle and tell him no. He is definitely not an aggressive dog. He's never tried to just flat out bite me or even growl at me, and so just sometimes he will mouth. He's actually just a really a sweetheart. Oh, buddy. Now, with aggression, sometimes there's one thing that can happen, and that's with kids. Kids are like the greatest thing to a dog. They run around, they squeal, and your dog ends up just wanting to play along. And so I just make a rule, just to avoid accidents from happening, that anytime kids play with my dog, they have to have a toy. That way, it gives him something that he can go after. Nope. As well as if they got a little bit nervous, they could just throw the toy and he could go after it. That way he's not going to be jumping up on him and ending up grabbing a pant leg or an arm. Good boy. Good boy. You left your toy. Huh? Good boy. But just make sure that you continue to handle him so that he doesn't necessarily get to where he's even more uncomfortable with that. And he's done a lot better. He's not nearly as uncomfortable when we do handle him, and I've never seen him be aggressive, so he's just a really good dog. What do you think? So the next two manners are ones that you are going to have to really make sure that you set a standard for in your home. The first one being jumping, just because he was such a jumpy dog. Every once in a while you can see that he'll still jump out to the side, but he is never allowed to put his paws on me. Absolutely not. And so we've taught him the command off, and that's for whether he tries to jump on me or if he were to try and jump on a chair or the table, anything like that, tell him off and expect him to get down. That is also one of those that if we do have a hold of the leash, it is accompanied with that leash correction. Now, a couple things with his jumping. It's important that you never let him get away with putting his paws on you. And along with that, it's important that you never step backwards. As soon as you step backwards, it becomes a game for him. He's just going to keep on jumping. Instead, I always step into his jump, and if I can, I'll bring up my knee and block him when I do that. As well as I'll tell him off at the same time. He's never allowed to jump around me. Now, sometimes dogs do have this pack mentality, and so they'll pick someone in your family that maybe they think that they can get away with jumping on because they think that they're lower than him on the pecking order. Come here. And so if that happens, a really great way to take care of that is to take him by the leash, have him walk up to him. If he tries to jump, I would tell him off, and I would give him that quick little leash correction, which we'll get back to because we're going to take him outside. Good boy. Just where he went up and touched that bell, and he's been kind of pacing around. But I do expect him to wait at the doorway. Okay, good boy. Once again, having him wait at the door when we come in. Okay, good boy. Now, I will talk about that in detail here in just a little bit. But going back to that, if he's wanting to jump on someone, I'll take him on the leash, and I'll have that person call him to him. And when he walks up, if he tries to jump, I'm going to give him that 2 pops on the leash, tell him off, and walk the other direction. And then I'll stop and do it again. Usually you do that 3-4 times. And he'll kind of get the picture. And then when he approaches them and he sits down, it's important that then you make it really positive. Good boy, good boy. Give him lots of loves, pet him, give him some treats. Make it so that he understands that that's the positive behavior. That's what you're looking for. Whereas if he tried to jump, he's getting a leash correction, and he wasn't being able to get to that person. So just remember off, as well as never step backwards. Always step into that jump and accompany it with that command of off. Good boy. But he really has done a lot better with it, but make sure that you put that as your top priority to make sure that you maintain that, and he never gets away with jumping up on you. Even when you come and pick him up this weekend, when you approach him, if he starts to get real excited and he keeps trying to jump, just stand there, fold your arms, do not greet him unless he is sitting down. Just do not. That's going to set that best foot forward by doing so. Good boy. Now, the next manner that we're going to talk about is chewing. And so he is just in the middle of teething, and so chewing has to happen. There's no way around it. But we train on a base of avoiding and replacing. If you can avoid giving him free access to shoes, to toys, to anything that you don't want him to chew up, of course that's the best way of preventing an accident from happening. And so sometimes you got to put some of that stuff up. However, it's not really possible in your home. There's always something that he's going to have access to, whether it be a table leg, whether it be a couch or a pillow, just something there that he can chew on. And so when that happens, that's where replacing comes in. If I saw him go up and he started chewing on the table leg, I would tell him no, and I would then give him something to chew on that's basically of equal texture. Same as if he tried to chew on something soft, like maybe a couch cushion or a bed. If you have a soft bed for him, he starts to chew on it, tell him no, give him something soft to chew on. He starts chewing on his leash or some shoelaces, give him a rope. Just have a variety of things that you can give him. But also make sure that he doesn't just have free access to his own things. Because if he has free access, he's going to get bored with the object, and he is going to go find something new to chew on. Along with getting bored with his own things, sometimes I'm just going to give him something to chew on when maybe it's going to be a boring time for him. he's in the crate, or you guys have a downtime, you're watching a show, reading a book, he's just going to be laying on his bed, just give him something to chew on to occupy his time. That way he's not just going to go find something to chew on. Remember, I'll correct him, no, and I'll give him something to chew on, replace it. Something of equal texture, because he is going to chew based on what he feels like his mouth needs. Yeah, let me know also if you do have any questions while watching this. Shoot me a text, an email, phone call, just let me know if you have any questions and I'll help you out. The next command we're going to talk about, or the next manner, is whether he has something and you want to take it from him. And so we've taught him drop it, and so if I grab this, I'll tell him drop it, and I expect him to physically release it. Now you saw where he didn't initially just give it to me. I'm just going to hold it really still and tight, and he's not going to be able to chew on it, he's not going to be able to move it around, but instead I'll just hold it really still. And so once again, if he has that, I'll tell him drop it. Good boy. And every once in a while when he does drop it, give him a treat, maybe give him the object back. That way it's not just negative because you're taking something from him. Instead, like even where I took that away, let him chew on it for a minute longer and then ask him to give it back. I'll just ask him to drop it. Good boy. And sometimes it's not him just like spitting it out, but even just loosening his grip and allowing you to take it. Drop it. Good boy. Good boy. Now, if he ever had something that he just did not want to give you, once again, what I'll do is I'll just hold it really still, make it unappealing. But if it was long enough, I would take it on both sides. And what I do is just turn my knuckles in, and I'm pinching his lips against his canines a little bit, just making it uncomfortable for him to continue to hold on to the object. The other thing that I can do is press down on his tongue. If you can slip your thumb in there and press down on his tongue, he'll open his mouth as wide as he can, and he'll just spit out whatever he has. Good boy, good boy. Drop it. And if he lunges like that, so I'm just going to pull it back and tell him no. And as well as that actually leads right into our next manner, which is gently. And that's if you want him to take something softly, especially food, I'll just tell him gently. No, gently. No. And you can do this, just sit here and no, gently. I expect him to be a lot calmer taking it. Good boy, good boy. Drop it. But these bully sticks are like his favorite thing in the world. And so, just be prepared for that. Here. That same thing if he has a toy. And you can see there, like where he lunged off of there, I just kind of shut off my emotions. Just stopped. He wasn't getting the toy. My arms were folded. It's no longer fun anymore. I'm not waving the object. Instead, still, he's not allowed to have it. And now that he's sitting, I can throw the object. And that command of drop it still applies with these soft toys. If you'll hold on to it, there you go. Get him to play a little bit. Come here. And then I'll just drop it. Good boy, good boy. Then I can, come here. I'll just ask him to drop it. Good boy, good boy. See, that's a perfect example right there. Just him letting go. Good boy, good boy. And when he's really good, give him a treat. Make it very positive. But once again, even that command of gently, I give him just a little bit too big of a piece. Come here. Is if he's real excited and you're going to present a treat, just tell him gently. And always give the treat in the palm of your hand. It's never between your thumb and forefinger. If you do that, you're asking him to bite you. Instead, in the palm of your hand, if you were to lunge, you're just going to close your fist, pull it away. Tell him gently. Come here. Gently. And expect him to be very cautious taking food out of your hand. I don't want to feel his teeth at all. So, Once again, if you have any questions with those manners, please let me know. But if not, we're going to jump into the obedience commands. So the first command we're going to talk about is one just to get his eye contact, just get him to focus on us. And what it is watch me. Okay, good boy. And all I'm looking for is then to make eye contact with him. And so, even if I can distract him a little bit, maybe. Oh, I rolled too close. Sit. Watch me. Okay, good boy. See that, how he just quickly looked up at me? He thought about going for the treat, but instead he made eye contact. That's exactly what I want. And you can do the same thing. I can lure his eyes away. Watch me. Okay, good boy. And having him focus on me. So that is a really important command to practice a lot. Get him to look at you, make it very positive. He gets a treat every time you do that. The reason that command is so important is because it can be a life-saving command. If he is chasing after something or he's running into the street and you just need him to stop and look at you, you can use that command. And it should be such a positive command because you are 100% with giving him a food reward when you work on that. It's just super positive to him, and hopefully it's going to be more rewarding to look at you and to come back than to do whatever else he's doing. Or it can even be as simple as you're in the kitchen, you drop something on the floor, you just need him to look up at you so that you can pick it up. So practice that command. It also is a great way for him to start to get used to the way that you say things and the way that you reward things. But we also teach him his name basically in the same way that I'll always tell him, Graham, okay, and I'll reward him when he looks up at me. I also use his name when I use the following command, which is come. And the reason I do that is because his name gets his attention, and that way he's focused on me when I actually call him to come. Graham, come! Good boy, good boy. And he has a phenomenal come. When we go outside and work on it, he can be running after a cat and he just turns around and comes right back to me. He just does very, very well. I would say that that's probably his best command, which isn't the case with a lot of dogs. In fact, come is usually the one command that everybody burns out. And the reason is because they either overuse it or they use it when he is so focused on something that they basically know that he's not going to respond. And then they finally get him to come back and then you punish him. And so it's so important that you keep that command just really positive and you basically preserve the integrity of it. And so the way that you do that, first, is don't overuse the command. If you're inside, maybe he's close to you, let me see if I can back up. Instead, I'll just, something like that, get his attention, kissing noises, clap, whistle, whatever, just get his attention. Come here. Something like that. Good boy, good boy. It's also important when he does come to you, that even if you were upset at him, if he was doing something that he wasn't supposed to, even though you're upset and you call him to come, if he comes, you are super positive. You are very rewarding. He just did the right thing, and you do not want to ruin that command. The way to work on it is, keep a tight repetition of like 10 to 1. And so what I'll do is I'll go outside in a fenced yard. I'll just have a handful of treats. Every minute or two, I'll call him to come, give him a treat, let him go again. Do it, 9, 10 times. For that one time I call him to come and we're done playing, we're going inside, or you're leaving the park, something along those lines. Also do that exact same thing when I take him on like an off-leash walk. So, yeah. Now the next couple commands do have hand signals. The first one is sit, which is just a scoop over the nose. No, sit. And I will accompany that with a word, so we should know both. The second is down, where I'll just take my hand flat and I'll go down. And then stay is just a stop sign. It's important when I do ask him to stay that I make sure he's focused on me. I'm giving him that sign. It's also important that if I do put him in a down stay, he's never allowed to come up. If he's in a sit stay, I really don't care if he lays down. But he does have great stays, but don't be satisfied with him. Always seek to improve him. And if you were to break, take him right back to the same spot and have him do it again. Make sure that you end on a correct behavior. Okay, good boy. Good boy. Now, same thing. I'm going to lure him around, have him sit, stay. Make sure you add those 3 Ds: distance, duration, distraction. Okay, good boy. It is important that you just ask him to do it once and give him time to process it. And then also, if you're doing like a down stay, I'll always give him the treat at the end. So I'll ask him to sit, down, stay. I'll do all that without giving him a reward till the very end when I use that release word. Okay, good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy, yeah. Good boy. Now, the following 2 commands don't necessarily have a hand signal, but I always put myself in a position where he can read my body language. So for instance, I'll step over here and I'll tell him, crate. And when he goes in, give him the treat, because some of the time you will be locking him up. Okay, good boy. Now, that command is important, great, that you cannot use it just to lock him up. If you use it just when you lock him up and never any time else, he's going to get to the point where he doesn't want to go in the crate because he knows you're going to shut the door and you're going to leave for a couple hours. Okay, good boy. Instead, you should treat it like the come command. Just randomly do it a bunch of repetitions. Crate. And do it without shutting the door, or you can, partially close the door, close it, just step away for 30 seconds, whatever. Just keep it variable. Okay, but it has to be positive with him going inside the crate. If you're just locking him up when you use it, it's negative. He's not going to want to go in, and you're just going to burn that command. So just randomly throughout the day, you're next to the crate, have him go in 3 or 4 times. Now, similar to that command is go to bed, which I don't care what position he's in, as long as all 4 paws are on the bed. It's also like the crate and expected stay. He should stay until released. Okay, good boy, good boy. And same, go to bed. The treat or the reward comes when he's on the bed, because he is expected to stay, and then being released from that stay is in itself a reward. Okay, good boy. Now, you only use the okay when you're finished with a sequence of commands, right? So if I ask him to do a sit stay, I'm not going to say sit and then okay because he knows he's done. Instead, I'll say like good boy, or good, or yes, something along that sort. But that okay only comes at the end. So now we're going to talk about the crate training, and then the house training, and then the leash training. So we've spent a lot of time making sure that he is very comfortable to sleep in the crate. Right now, we go at 4-hour blocks during the day without needing a break, as well as he should sleep 8 hours through the night. Now, I just use this crate for demonstration so you can kind of see him turn around. We generally have him sleep in a smaller crate, just so you know. If you do have a big crate like this, I would recommend blocking half of it off. If you give him too much room, sometimes they will, if they really have to go to the bathroom, they'll just go in a corner and pee. So I do like to use a smaller, tighter crate. I also, for the first little bit, when you take him home, I probably wouldn't put a bed in there, just because sometimes they do like to pee on something soft. The reason I bring that up, because previously I just told you that he sleeps through the night and he can go 4 hours without needing a break. But the reason I bring it up is because this transition period that he's going to go through, those 2 to 4 weeks, often causes them to have to go to the bathroom more frequently, as well as he'll probably get a loose stool. And so it's important that if he does start to whine in the middle of the night, you do give him a break. Just take him by the leash, he goes to the bathroom, he comes right back in the crate. If he whines, he's never allowed to get out of the crate to run around or play. It's to go to the bathroom, right back in. So if he does start to whine in the middle of the night, just give him a break. Now, the other thing that might happen is, you guys have spent the next day or two together. He's just really loving being back in your family, and he doesn't want to go in his crate. He doesn't want to be separated from you, because maybe he can see you or he can hear you. And so initially when you put him in, he starts to whine. Do not let him back out. What I'll do is sometimes I'll give him a bully stick, let him chew it and calm down, or I'll throw a blanket over the front of the crate so he can't see out. Just making it more den-like, but also kind of getting you out of sight, an out of sight, out of mind type of deal. But with that, if I do give him something like a bully stick, it's important that you be very cautious what you are giving him in there. Like I said, I'll give him bully sticks, I'll give him marrow bones, but I will never give him any type of toy in there, because a lot of times they just chew him up and try and swallow the squeaker. I will never give him raw hides, because raw hides they just tend to choke on, and so be very cautious what you are giving him. We put him to bed about 10 o'clock at night and get him up between 6 and 7. When we get him up, we take him out, he uses the bathroom, he comes back in, and I feed him breakfast. So usually he does have breakfast about 7:30 in the morning, and then we feed him again as close to about 6 o'clock as possible in the evening. That way he does have a good 4-hour block to use the bathroom to kind of clear his system before he goes into the crate. After he eats, I'll leave the water out just for a little bit, but then I'm taking it away by 6:37, just so he's not having to pee more. We do feed him about 1.5 cups morning and night, so he's getting about 3 cups total. I will send you some food to transition over. As well as when you have him in your home, I would control the water. Give it to him with meals, maybe 3 or 4 times throughout the day. That way, because he's already going to have to go to the bathroom more frequently, you might as well not make it worse, because he will just drink a lot of water. He likes to drink, so just be aware of that. But now we are going to jump right into our house training. So he has done really, really well with this house training. You've already seen him ring the bell once, and we went outside and he did go to the bathroom. I am going to teach you how to transition the bell the way that I like to do it, and then we'll all talk a little bit about it. So I am going to remove the remainder of the bells, because once you do this, it just makes it really positive to ring the bell. You want to get a lot of repetitions the first couple days that you are home. And so you can think of it that it is going to be a little bit of an inconvenience transitioning this, but it's an inconvenience. It's 2 weeks of an inconvenience for a well house trained dog. So I'm going to show you how to do it, and then we'll talk about it. So the first thing I'm going to do is what we call targeting the bell. So I'm just going to make it really positive during the bell. And I'm going to take a treat, I'll break it up real small so I'm not just overloading him. But what I'm going to be looking for is him just reaching out and touching the bell. And I'm going to mark it every time he does. So I'll just hang it right here by him. Okay, and the first time like that, he just touched it. I'm going to mark it, reward it. You can kind of dictate how hard you want him to hit the bells during this time. What I'll do is the next time I just might not reward it if he gently touches it, but wait for him to actually hit it. And what I'm doing here is also I'm just staring at the bells. I'm not making eye contact with him. Okay, good boy. Instead, I'm just focusing on the bells, allowing him to read my body language, what I want. Okay, good boy. If it does take a little bit longer like that, that's completely fine. He's just really thinking about what he's doing here. And then, you might have this time where it takes a little bit, and then he'll just start to speed up because he's actually, basically learning what to do on his own instead of me teaching him. Okay, good boy. Good boy. And that way it's also just going to sink in. Okay, good boy. A lot more than if I was trying to manipulate him into doing it. Okay, good boy. Good boy. So now I'm going to have him ring it one more time out of my hands. Okay, good boy. And then I'm going to take him over to the door. And when I hang the bells on the door, I'm going to call him over and have him basically do the same thing off the door. Come here. And I'm just going to stare at the bell. If he tries to walk away, I'll get his attention back and I'll have him come back over here. Lure him over here. But I'm just going to stare at the bells. Okay, good boy. Okay, good boy. Now once he starts ringing it pretty well off the door. Okay, good boy. Now I'm going to switch the wording up just a little bit. Okay, outside. Start emphasizing the word outside. Okay, outside. And now this next time, okay, outside. I'm going to take him out. Nope. If he tries to break, I might just correct him like that. Okay. Okay. Now, if I was doing this at your house, I would then turn around, have him ring the bells a couple more times, go back outside. Okay, good boy. So if you want, okay, good boy. Like if he's kind of sitting away from the bells, like that, you can jingle him just to get him a little bit closer and intrigues him a little bit. As well as if he does seem really reluctant to ring the bell, I'd pull out something that's just a little bit more rewarding, maybe some hot dogs. But he has done phenomenal with the house training, ringing the bell, going outside. And so what I would do like 3 or 4 repetitions, and then set a timer for 30 minutes. And every 30 minutes, I'm going to take him over to the bell, stare at it, allow him to ring it, take him outside, he goes to the bathroom, come right back in. And every 30 minutes, I'll take him and do that. That's for the next day or two. And then you can start to lengthen it to 45 minutes to an hour, 2 hours. And so 2 hours is our standard. That he should be able to be in the house without needing a break. I know that he can go longer than that, but I would not allow him to for the first 2 to 4 weeks. The exception there is that if he is in the crate, you don't need to let him out and do those, like you don't need to let him out every 30 minutes. But if you do have any questions with the bell, please don't hesitate, give me a call, let me know. But now with the house training, a couple of things to remember. One, I would always have him drag a short leash on around. That way, if you do need to grab him, quickly get him out, you have that way to grab him. Also, it's important that you give him 100% supervision. For my dogs, for the first 6 to 8 months that I have them, they're not allowed to have free access in my house. Even though, like, by the time they're this age, they're potty trained, I'm still not going to allow them to have free access because it's too easy for them to get distracted and then have an accident. Or my dog even accidentally locked herself in the bathroom one time and then had an accident on the floor because we didn't realize she was in there. And so 100% supervision, most important thing you can do, and you just have to do it. If you can't give him that supervision, use the crate as an asset. I put him in there, he's going to be fine for a couple hours. Also, a couple things to look for. If he starts sniffing real heavily or starts doing circles, means he's got to go. Get him out, get him to the bell, have him ring it off, get him outside. You can see that now he's really looking for the bell, so he's getting lots of treats, and now I'm not doing it, and so he's really looking for that. But also, if he wakes up, like from a nap or he's been in the crate for a couple hours, he's going to have to go to the bathroom, take him over, have him ring the bells, just go outside. Also, within about an hour of eating, he's going to have to go to the bathroom. So when I do that, I just walk over, stare at the bell, have him ring it, go outside. I'll give him maybe a minute or two outside to sniff around and go to the bathroom. If he doesn't go, we're just coming right back in. There's no playing, there's no it's just not positive at all. It's just whatever, you're coming right back in. There's no emotion. Because just remember that the dogs do feed off your emotion. On the other hand, if he goes, it's really positive. Good boy, good outside, good outside. I'll really emphasize that outside word being our marker for going to the bathroom. And so, like I said, he's done phenomenal. He'll go and seek out the bell and go outside and go to the bathroom. Been really, really happy with him. But if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to call me, because the house train is huge, and I want to make sure that you have just great success. I have a lot of people that do these instructions step by step and never have an accident in their home. Have people that just give their dog free rein because they think that, oh, it should be house trained, and then it has an accident. But remember, it's a new environment, it's stressful, and you got to make sure that you set the exact same standard that I have set. And 100% supervision. I know some people that tether their dog to them so that they don't get out of their sight. I also know people that block off part of their house so that you're just starting in a smaller area and gaining some trust. Now, if you were to see him start to have an accident in the house, it's important that you create a negative association with the action. And so if he started to pee, I would stomp, I would clap, no, 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 no. And I'm just going to grab him and run him outside. Now, if you stop him in the middle, you get him outside, and he finishes, you've got to then be positive. You want it to be as black and white as possible. That he was peeing in the house, he got pulled outside, you were yelling at him, you could tell you were upset, but then he finished outside, and that was the right behavior. It's super positive. Good boy, good boy. On the other hand, if you don't see him go to the bathroom, there's nothing you can do about it. The time has passed. And that's why 100% supervision is so important. So, once again, he has done really well. If you do have any questions for me, please let me know. If not, we'll keep moving forward, and we'll talk about his leash training, and then we'll go outside and I'll actually show you his walk. We do take him on two types of walks. The first one is an off-leash or a long-leash walk. Now, until he's responding to me really well, I'm completely comfortable that he's going to come back to me, I don't allow my dog off leash. That way I'm not having to chase him, or he's not thinking that he's the leader and he can get away with things. Instead, until that leadership role is filled and I'm completely trusting my dog, they're not allowed off leash. But most of our dogs do really well. So every week they get an off leash walk. And so we'll go up into the hills, we'll go down by the lake or the river, and that is just to let them be a dog, to run around, to sniff, to play. And what I do on that type of walk is what I was talking about with the come. I'll take a bag full of treats or food, and every minute or two I'll call them to come, give them a reward, let them go again. That way it's very positive. They're staying close, they're checking in, they're working on that come command, and they still gotta go have this enjoyable walk just to clear their mind and have fun. If I get one that doesn't respond, maybe they get too far out ahead or they don't respond to that come command, they're back on a leash while everybody else is off leash. That type of walk is very important. It's great for their mental health. I would make sure that you give your dog one at least once a week, just to kind of relieve some stress and just to have fun, to clear, just to go out and be a dog. So the second type of walk we take them on is what we consider their attention walk. That's if we're out in public or we're walking around the block, when I want him focused on me and not around on the distractions around. It's really important that you get his engagement. And so when we do that type of walk, I use a short leash, and we have two commands. The first is let's go, just signifying we're moving. And the other one is easy if he starts to pull. Now if he does start to pull, I will accompany that with a leash correction, as well as I will stop. He's never allowed to pull through. If he starts to pull, it's easy, stop. He has to put the slack back in the leash for us to go anywhere. And so now we will go outside, and I will show you that walk, and also I'll try and get him to pull and show you what the correct response is for easy. When I do start this type of walk, I like to get him to sit first. That way I get his focus on me, and I'll tell him, let's go. Now gets out in front of me, he starts to pull. I tell him easy. I expect him to put that slack back in the leash. Huh? Let's go. Good boy. Let's go. When he does give me that focus and continues to look up at me, I am going to give him a reward because that is the expected behavior. Good boy. Let's go. When I take a corner, I'll tell him let's go, and if he gets too far out, that's simple leash correction. Good boy. Good boy. But make sure with everything that you are giving your dog feedback, you have to make sure that they understand if they're doing something wrong as well as if they're doing things right. So, but he has done great. Let's go. So, in conclusion, once again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate. Graham really is a great dog. He does really well. And he's got just a fun little personality, lots of energy. Make sure that you get him adequate exercise so that he isn't super crazy in the house. But we really have enjoyed having him around. He's just a fun little spunky guy, and I think you guys are going to enjoy him as well. But and thanks again for letting us train him, and let me know if you have any questions.